Alright, time for the spell guide for Mind Magic 7. Up first, we have the Fire School, starting with Firebolt, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 2, and it can be cast immediately when you learn Fire Magic and be learned. It does 1 to 3 points of damage per point skill in Fire Magic, and at Expert Master, etc., it reduces recovery rate. It's not quite as good in damage as it is in 6, but it's half the spell points. I'd still put it at C tier. It's gonna do a decent amount of damage early on if you put some points in Fire Magic, but you're gonna find there's obviously better ways of dealing damage for a sorcerer, so still a C tier spell. Up next we have Meteor Shower, which is a fire spell with a spell cost of 20, and just like in 6, it fires down meteors, each meteor being 8 points of damage plus 1 per point of skill in fire. You can only learn this spell with Master Fire Magic, and it's 16 meteors and then 20 at Grandmaster. In terms of damage, this is still a decent AoE spell outdoors. There are obviously better ways of dealing a lot of damage, especially with dark magic, but I guess if you're going light path, then this can deal with titans. It can still hit a lot of monsters. I'd put this spell at, well, to be honest, it's not very good, and there are a lot better options. So, plus you need to get Master Fire Magic. So initially I was thinking B tier for this spell, but honestly, now that I think about it, it probably belongs in C tier because obviously Starburst is a much better spell, and then you have to actually get the fire skill up, which I don't think there's much reason to do that, so I put it at C tier. Up next we have Torchlight, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 1, and it lasts 1 hour per point of skill, and it, just like in 6, it makes the screen brighter in dark areas, and at higher rankings it makes the recovery rate reduced. This is still a completely worthless spell other than for aesthetics, so it's an RP tier spell. Next we have Fireball, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 8, and it's an AoE spell that does 1 to 6 points of damage per point of skill in fire, and at higher rankings it can reduce the recovery rate. You can only cast this spell if you have Expert Fire Magic. Go and learn this spell. Again, this is, and early on it can do a decent amount of damage in terms of AoE, but there are obviously better options, so I would still put this at C tier. Up next we have Inferno, which is a fire spell with spell point cost of 25, and it, like in 6, it hits any monster indoors within your field of vision for 20 with 12 points of fire damage plus 1 per point of skill in fire. You can only learn this spell if you are Master Fire Magic. This spell is, like I said in 6, it's limited to how you can use it. And the damage is obviously inferior to a lot of other spells. The also added problem is that you have to get it to master fire magic, and there aren't really any good spells at higher rankings in fire to justify getting the the skill to master, in my opinion. So I put it at C tier, simply because it's not worth the effort to get it. Up next we have Immolation, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 15, and it basically it's kind of a buff spell in that it's active on your party, and it deals 1 to 6 points of damage occasionally for any monsters nearby. At Grandmaster, it lasts 10 minutes per point of skill, and you can only learn this spell at Master Fire Magic. Immolation is a really shitty spell. It doesn't do very much damage. The damage is actually really pitiful. Like, by the time you get this spell, it doesn't really matter. Like the 1 to 6 damage, or the little damage that you get, and what ends up happening more than likely than not is you're going to end up killing peasants because it works on friendly enemy monsters as well. So if you town portal into a friendly area and you walk around, you can very easily kill peasants, and then you risk going to jail. There's no real benefit to using this spell. It is a complete RP tier spell. Next we have Haste, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 5, and it reduces, like in 6, it reduces the recovery rate by 25, and at higher rankings, it's 1 hour plus 1 per point of skill. At Expert, 3 minutes. Grandmaster 4, you can only learn this spell at Expert Fire Magic. This works a little bit differently in 7 than 6. In 6, you can very easily get light magic very early. In 7, it's not quite so easy, and obviously in Dark Path, you can't get it at all. So this individual spell has more worth. It's obviously very nice to have the Haste spell active. And it's still nice, again, with light magic, because it wears off earlier than other buff spells or the other hour power spells. So plus you'll end up in a point where you have to go longer without light magic in light path, and then obviously on dark path, if you have any melee party, you would want this spell. So I'd put this at B tier on light path, and then dark path, it's an A tier spell. Definitely want this for any melee parties on dark, if you so choose to go melee on dark. Up next we have Fire Magic, or Fire Resistance, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 3, and it gives a point of resistance to fire per point of skill at Expert 2, Master 3, Grandmaster 4. You only have to learn the fire skill to cast this spell. I don't really care for this spell. It's really unnecessary, mainly because there are a lot of pedestals in the game that give you fire resistance. There's one in Stone City, or outside of Stone City, and there's one in Nyan. and that gives you 20. So this spell at Master is giving you a single resistance point more than any pedestal will give you. And I don't think getting fire to Master is that particularly good anyway. And then even at Grandmaster, it's still only 40. Now, if you get like an artifact of fire, then it's going to be a little bit better. But even though like there are obviously like devils that are going to do fire damage, it's simply not worth getting fire magic high enough to make this spell better than the ones that you're going to get in Nyan, which, you know, you can just town portal to Nyan, pop the fire res thing. So I would put this at C tier. Not particularly great, maybe decent early on, but definitely not worth putting fire magic skill in. Next we have Incinerate, which is a fire spell with a spell point cost of 30, and basically it's just like in 7, it does a single target spell which does 15 points of damage plus 1 to 15 per point of skill in fire. You can only learn this spell if you have Grandmaster Fire Magic. The spell has the same problems as in 6. It's a single target spell, and it's even smaller in the missile, so it's more likely to miss at far away. And on top of that, you need to get 10 points in fire magic to even use this spell. So even though it's the same damage, I put this spell at C tier for 7, simply because of the amount of investment you need to get this spell, and it's not really all that good. It might even be even worse because the projectile's smaller. So C tier spell. Up next we have Fire Spike, which is a fire spell with a spell cost of 10, and it basically shoots out this spike, which does anywhere from 1 to 10, 1 to 6, and then 8 and 10 at higher levels per point of skill in fire when any monster walks up to the spike and it, you know, detonates. You can drop 9 or you can drop 5 and then 7 and 9 at a moment or at any point at once. And you can only learn this spell if you have Expert Fire Magic. This spell is kind of crap. It's not very good. It only fires 1 spike at a time. So if you wanted to use this how it's intended as like this trap thing, you would have to, you know, set it and then walk back. And the damage is not very good. So, like, it's Sparks is going to do way more damage, much faster. I'm inclined to put this at RP tier, but it is going to do decent damage if you get it high enough. And I guess there is that utility of, you know, setting it and then having monsters walk up to it. Although I don't think that's very good, so I'll put it at C tier. And then we have Fire Aura, which is a fire spell with a spell cost of 4, and it gives an Enchanted Item a bonus to fire damage enchantment, which is higher at higher levels. At Grandmaster, it's permanent, and you can learn this spell immediately when you get Fire skill. This is a pretty good skill, especially early on. It's going to enchant your items. There are oozes that are immune to physical damage that you have to fight early on. You can enchant weapons with that. At higher levels, it can give a better enchantment. Although I would say that there are much better enchantments than Fire Aura. Like you can enchant item. So it can give like pretty decent damage bonuses to your weapons, so I think I'm gonna put it at B tier. Although I would say, like, especially early on, this is a much better spell. Enchant Item is going to make it less useful. But, you know, you can get a decent damage bonus from this spell, so... and melee is a lot better in 7. Okay, that's gonna do it for fire spells. Next we have air magic, starting with Fly, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 25, and it basically makes your party be able to fly in the air. At Master, it lasts 1 hour per point of skill. At Grandmaster, there's no SP drain, so you don't have to worry about it wearing off and you falling and dying because you run out of spell points. You can only learn this spell if you have Master Air Magic. Obviously, flying is still very broken in 7, so you definitely want this spell. It is a S tier spell, no questions asked. Up next we have Featherfall, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 2, and it makes your party immune to fall damage. It lasts 5 minutes per point of skill. At Expert 10 minutes. Master 1 hour, and Grandmaster, the recovery is reduced. Featherfall is automatically cast with Day of Protection, but that is a light spell and you can only get that on Light Path. And also, light magic is harder to get early on, so having protection from fall damage is obviously very important. You want protection against falling if you run out of fly, and also just walking down mountains makes things more convenient. So on Light Path, because you can get it with Day of Protection, I'll put this at B tier. On Dark Path, I put this at A tier. Up next, we have Invisibility, which is, by the way, yeah, you can learn this spell automatically just with the air skill. Up next, we have Invisibility, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 15, and what it does is make your party unseeable by any monsters. And the spell automatically wears off if you attack anything or you touch any monster at all. At Master, it's 10 minutes per point of skill, and Grandmaster, it's 1 hour. You can only learn this spell with Master Air Magic. Invisibility is a very powerful spell. It will allow you to enter areas without having to fight anything. It's a very great way of being able to farm a lot of items, get powerful treasure earlier on, and enter and complete quests without fighting monsters. This is an S tier spell. Up next we have Starburst, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 30, and it's another AoE spell. Outdoors, does 20 points of, it fires down sparks, which does 20 points plus 1 point of skill in air magic with 20 stars each. You can only learn this spell if you have Grandmaster Air Magic. Starburst is a very effective AoE spell if you are going light path. This is the best AoE spell in terms of damage. Plus you're going to get the bonus from the Fair Ring, which is guaranteed. So it's an easy way to rack up a lot of damage. I would still put this at A tier. You can make an argument for it being B tier for Dark Path, but it is capable of doing a lot more damage faster, so I'd say it's still a good AoE spell to have, so I'd put it at A tier. And Air is a good school, so it's not, and Grandmaster Air is beneficial to have anyway, so it's not that much of a hassle to get anyway, so A tier spell. Up next we have Shield, which is an air spell, which it has a spell point cost of 8, and it halves damage from range attacks, but like in 6, this spell is bugged. It's actually funny. The potion of shield actually protects you against any missile attack, even elemental or even the droid's attack. This spell just protects against arrows, which there are, well, we'll get to that. It only increases the duration at Master and Grandmaster. You can only learn this skill with Expert Air Magic. The spell is not very good. Like I said, it's bugged. It doesn't protect against any missile, only arrows. And the two monsters that do shoot arrows is archers. You only fight those in Mercenary Guild, and if you're going Dark Path, then you might fight the Elf archers in Castle Naven. Otherwise, you're never going to fight them, and it's definitely not worth XP farming in Castle Naven. So there's very few parts in the game where it would even have any effect. It's not like in 6 where you can argue, well, there's a lot of lizards, especially in Iron Fist. There's a lot of archers in Whitecap, which, you could get some benefit out of the spell. I don't think there's really any benefit, because you don't want to go to the Mercenary Guild very early. Later on, it doesn't really matter. the damage, that reduction that you get, you won't even notice. The most damage that you would get from them comes from their lightning bolt, and obviously Castle Nave, by the time you get there, the archers aren't going to be doing anything to you, so even though technically it could have a positive use, it's so minuscule that I would actually put this at RP tier. If you want protection against all missile attacks, just down some shield potions and you'll get half damage even from droids. So, no reason to ever use this spell. RP tier. Next we have Sparks, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 4. It's a splash spell, like in 6, doing 2 points of damage per spark, plus 1 per point of skill in air magic. It starts with 3, then 5, 7, and 9 at Grandmaster. Obviously, this spell is very powerful. It's even better than in 6. It shoots out much farther, and the sparks are a lot bigger. So it's very easy for monsters to hit them. It's easy to stun lock monsters with sparks. It's obviously inferior to Shrapmetal, but obviously you're not going to have that on Light Path. And even on Dark Path, there are some monsters like Necromancers, Barbed Wise, that can't be affected by Shrapmetal. You want this spell. Plus, you can get the Air Ring, the Fairy Ring, very early on. That's going to double, or that's going to boost your air skill, so you're going to have very good damage with this spell. It's an S tier spell. Yeah, obviously, very nice spell. Second best damage spell in the game. Still very good even with dark magic. Up next we have Implosion. Implosion is an air spell with a spell point cost of 20. It's a single target spell, which has 10 points plus 1 to 10 per point of skill. Air magic. Grandmaster reduces recovery, and you can only cast it with, you can only learn it with Master Air Magic. This is a very nice spell. Obviously, Air Magic is a very good school, and also you have the Fairy Ring that'll boost your damage with this spell. Another thing that makes it very nice is that you don't have, it doesn't fire a projectile, so it automatically is cast on monsters if you can see, if you just target them and they're in your field of vision. So it's very easy to cheese with this spell by going in a corner and hitting Implosion, or if you're running fast, not in turn-based, it's very easy to hit with this spell. Much better than in 6. I'd put this at A tier. Not quite as good as the other damage spells, but still very nice. So it's a very good spell, and it's actually from a good school, so A tier spell. Up next we have Jump, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 5, and it jumps your party like in 6, but it's much shorter. It's almost on par with a regular jump. It's not particularly good at expert and master and etc. The recovery rate is reduced, and you can only learn this spell with expert air magic. The effectiveness of jump is a lot weaker than in 6. It's a very short jump. It's kind of hard to kite with this spell. Or it's hard to dodge enemies with this spell because it's so short. It can be an effective way of just going over some surfaces without having to like crawl on walls. Like there are some parts where you have to jump over certain, like there are a lot more areas where you have to jump over stuff, so having jump there is going to be it's a little bit better than a regular jump. So I put this at B tier. It's a lot weaker than in 6, but it doesn't have the seismic jump of 6, but it's still going to be useful in a lot of cases. So especially in areas like the Thief, with sewers, which you can bypass doing that stupid puzzle thing with this spell. So hitting those switches and everything. Yeah. So B tier spell. Up next we have air resistance, which gives resistance again 1 to 4 per 1 of skill, depending on your mastery. It's an air spell with a spell point cost of 3. You can automatically learn this spell with the air skill. Air resistance is definitely a beneficial spell. Obviously, you don't necessarily. Well, I think the only air resistance that you get is in Titalia, so if you don't have Lloyd's Beacon, it's kind of hard to get that part. Also, it's from the air school, which you already have the air ring, so you can get a pretty decent air resistance. Obviously, it's kind of irrelevant with data protection, but like there are some areas, like in the Walls of Mist, for example, they have the air elementals, which cast sparks, which is going to do a shitload of damage. And it's definitely nice to have that. This is before you can get blind magic, although it's probably better to just get invis for that. On Light Path, it's not as good. Again, there aren't as many air spells to air magic casters as there are in 6. Like the main thing you want to worry about is those lesser air elementals, which I can't remember. I think it's the Walls of Mist. I think that's the only one, if I remember correctly, that have them. So, with that being said, it's very easy to get this. The resistance is pretty good. So, I just can't think of any monsters that deal air damage off the top of my head that you would face. Is kind of like one of the main problems. I think there's archers. Maybe there's Afrits or genies. Like they would But again, that's in the Walls of Mist as well. So I guess there's like some, but again, like, you know, you can use Invis for that. Even though it's a lot easier to get this spell higher and quicker, I don't think there's any real monsters that actually use air, because again, you want to use air invis for the Walls of Mist, and you don't get any experience for killing them. So originally I was gonna put this at B tier, but the more that I think about it, there aren't really that many monsters that actually that cast air spells. So I put it at C tier, although it's very easy to get pretty decent at. Up next we have Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is a air spell with a spell point cost of 10, and it does 1 8 points of damage per point of skill in air magic. At higher rankings, it can lower recovery rate, and you can only learn this spell with Expert Air. It's another single target spell, very mediocre. The damage ranges that you can get can be really bad. There are obviously better spells that you can use. Even like Implosion's much superior, so I'd put this at C tier. And finally we have Wizard Eye, which is an air spell with a spell point cost of 1. And it's 0 at Grandmaster, and it tells you where all the monsters and items are on the map. Obviously, very nice utility spell. Being able to see where monsters are is going to make things very more convenient. You can't get you can cast this spell with Day of Protection, but you can't get that on Dark Path, and on Light Path it's going to take a while to get that spell. So it's S tier spell on Dark Path. On Light Path it's a B tier spell, because eventually you get protection from Day of Protection. Okay, on to the School of Water. Starting with Ice Bolt, which is a water spell with a spell point cost of 4. It does 1 to 4 points of damage per point of skill, and water magic at higher rankings they can reduce recovery rate. You can immediately cast this. You can immediately learn this spell when you have water skill. Like Firebolt, it is nerfed in terms of damage, but it costs less spell points. It's a C tier spell. It's going to do good damage or decent damage early on, very low spell point cost, but there are better options, so it's a C tier spell. Up next we have Ice Blast. Ice Blast is a water spell with a spell point cost of 25. It fires off, well, it basically hits a target and then fires off 7 shards, which does 12 points of damage, plus 1 to 3 per point of skill in water. Grandmaster recovery rate is reduced. You can only learn this spell with Master Water Magic. Like in 6, this is a mediocre spell. It doesn't do very much damage. Even though you get Grandmaster Water, or you would want to, it's still not very good. I put it at C tier. Up next we have Recharge Item, which is a water spell with a spell point cost of 8, and it takes a wand and it restores charges at 50%. It loses 50% minus 1 per point of skill in water magic. At Master, at the base is 30, at Grandmaster 20. And you can only learn this spell with Expert Water Magic. This is can be a useful spell. There are a lot of wands that you can get pretty early, like Malwick's wand, which is another reason why Fireball isn't very good. Which you can charge. Other wands, a lot of wands in the game that you can get a lot of use out of because of this spell. You can kill the dragon in Emerald Island very easily with a recharge item scroll plus the wand of Fireball. Obviously there are better ways of dealing damage, but I'd put this at B tier. Definitely has some uses. Up next we have Awaken. Awaken is a water spell with a spell point cost of 1, and it awakens your entire party within 3 minutes per point of skill at normal. At Master 1 hour, at Expert 1 hour, Master 1 day. At Grandmaster, recovery rate is reduced, and you can cast it immediately with the water skill. Like in 6, you would want this spell if you get an encounter while sleeping, and also there are some monsters. I think that there's some flying eyes, although there are less monsters that sleep. I think there's some genie. One of the genies do that too. So there's not as much use of this spell, but it's still gonna be useful in some cases, so I put it at B tier. Up next we have Lloyd's Beacon, which is a water spell with a spell point cost of 30, and like in 6, it sets an area for this spell, which you can recall to at any time. You can only learn this spell at Grandmaster Water Magic. Obviously, being able to teleport anywhere and go from dungeon to town and back immediately, very nice and convenient. Like in 6, it's just a broken S tier spell. Next we have Town Portal, which is a water spell with a spell point cost of 20, and it can allow you to teleport to 6 towns, I believe. Let's see, Harmondale, Arathia, Telarian, eventually the Pit, and Celeste, and Nyon. It has a 10% chance of working per point of skill in water, so if you get this at Grandmaster, it works every time, and it also works with hostile enemies nearby. At Master, it only works when you are not by hostile monsters. You can only learn this spell with Master Water Magic. Obviously, Town Portal is just as broken as it is in 6. Being able to teleport anywhere, very nice and convenient. And also, it's a very easy way to get a lot of buffs from pedestals. There's like a Day of the Gods pedestal, which is pretty nice. So, very nice spell. S tier spell. Next we have Enchant Item, which is a water spell with spell cost of 15. And it can enchant any enchanted item. At Grandmaster, the enchantments get stronger, and it has a 10% chance of working per point of skill in water, so at Grandmaster, it works every time at 10. Enchant item is a lot better in 7. If you get this to 12 or 11, I don't remember exactly, but you can enchant any item and have a chance of getting a skill bonus plus 17. So plus 17 arms master skill, plus 17 unarmed skill. That's going to give you massive bonus to DPS on your melee characters. You can also chant for swift items. Really good enchantments that you can get. S tier spell. Definitely want this with a melee party especially. And even the other enchantments are pretty good as well. Up next we have Poison Spray, which is a water spell with spell point cost of 2. It's another splash spell that fires a shot at 2 plus 2 damage plus 1 to 2 per point of skill. At Experts 3, Master 5, Grandmaster 7, and you can learn this spell immediately with the water skill. Definitely an inferior spell to Sparks, and there's still monsters that resist it. I also think that it's a lot harder to control. You have to be really close, otherwise the shit's gonna miss. So it is gonna work as an effective splash spell, but it has drop packs plus the resistances some monsters have. So I'd still put this at B tier. Next we have Water Resistance, which is a water spell with spell point cost of 3, and it adds resistance 1 to 4 based on your ranking, expertise, per point of skill, and water magic. You can learn this spell immediately with the water skill. Water magic is kind of pointless because I think there's only water elementals that deal water damage that do significant amounts of water damage, and there's already a pedestal in Avli for that, so it's not going to be very useful. I put it at C tier. Next we have Water Walk, which is a water spell with a spell point cost of 5, and it allows you to walk on water without taking damage. It lasts 10 minutes per point of skill. At Max Master, it lasts 1 hour. It has an SP drain where if you don't have any spell points, you start taking damage again. This is removed. At Grandmaster, you can only learn this spell with Expert Water Magic. Water Walk is better in 7 because you're going to have tougher access to fly early on, and there's some areas like, getting the golden chest in Avli, where if you don't have a Windmaster, this is the only effective way to get that chest. So there are a lot of uses for this spell, although obviously once you get fly, it's kind of irrelevant. I would put this at, well, simply because you can get the Avli chest very easily, although you can get a Windmaster for that, technically. I would still put this at A tier, simply for that, and the, you know, the uses that you can get early on. But it's not really all that useful later on, so it's really a few times use, but you definitely want those. So A tier spell. That might be too high, but I think that's probably appropriate. Up next we have Acid Burst, which is a water spell with spell point cost of 10. And it's a single target spell that does 9. Oh, I forgot to mention, going back to Water Walk, you can... Wait, did I mention that? This is... I can't remember. Yeah, but you need Expert Water Magic to cast the spell. I think I did. Also, I think, hate to go back, but I think Water Walk actually, I'm going to lower it to B tier because it's actually not that hard to get a Windmaster. So if you have a Windmaster, then you don't really need Water Walk. But up next we have Acid Burst, which is a water spell with a spellbook cost of 10. It does 9 points of damage plus 1 per point of skill. You can only learn this spell with Expert Water Magic, and at higher rankings it reduces recovery rates. Still a decent damage spell, but there are better options, so I put this at B tier. Not much to say. Alright. The Earth School. Starting off, we have Blades, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 8. It's a single target spell. It does 9 points of damage per point of skill in Earth Magic. High rankings, it reduces recovery rate, and you can only learn it with Expert Earth Magic. This is a garbage spell. It's a little bit better than in 6, but Earth Magic isn't very good, and there's not much point of even getting it to Expert, so, or, yeah, so I would put this at C tier. Up next we have Deadly Swarm, which is a single target, or a spell with a spell point cost of 4, does 1 to 3 points per point of skill in Earth Magic, and at higher rankings, it reduces recovery rates. This is a it says that it never misses. I guess the benefit of this spell is it doesn't fire a projectile, so you don't have to worry about it missing something. Even though the damage is the same except a higher cost. The problem is that it's an Earth spell, so you don't really want to... it's good early on, but there's obviously a lot better alternatives, so I still put it at C tier. Next we have Rock Blast, which is a Earth spell with spell point cost of 15. It's an AoE spell that fires off a rock that does 1 8 points of damage per point of skill in Earth Magic. Grandmaster. The recovery rate is faster, and you can only learn this spell with Master Earth Magic. This spell can be a decent AoE. I put this at B tier still, even though, to be honest, Earth Magic, well, actually, no, I've scratched that. This is a pretty decent spell, because there is some other spell you want at Master Earth, so you can have access to this spell, And it is going to do a decent amount of AoE damage if you get it high. Although I don't think you should really pump Earth Magic very high. So I'd still put this at B tier. Up next we have Death Blossom, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 25. It does 20 points of damage plus 1 per point of skill in Earth Magic. For each shard, basically it fires off this thing in the air, and then it explodes, and then it goes down and hits monsters. You can only learn this spell with Master Earth Magic. Even though it's easier to hit in 7, it's still pretty pointless. There are way better ways of dealing damage, and it's not going to do very much anyway, so I still put it at RP tier. Up next we have Stone to Flesh, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 10, and it heals a stone character. Less than 1 hour per point of skill from when they were stoned. Master, 1 day. Grandmaster, no time limit. You have to have Expert Earth Magic to cast the spell. Stone to Flesh is not very useful in 7 simply because of protection from magic. It already protects you against stone, so it doesn't have as much use. You would just want to cast protection from magic. You don't really want your characters to be stone, and even if you did, then there's still potions to heal that which are very easy to get. So I'd put this at C tier, simply because you don't really need it in most cases. Up next we have Telekinesis, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 20. And it allows you to target anything that can be clicked on from far away. This is moved to Earth Magic for some reason, but obviously it's still an OP spell. So many uses. Like I said, in 6, you can use this to open chests. You don't need Disarm. If you have this spell, you can click on item areas from far away. Very nice, convenient spell. Especially in 6 and 7 where you don't have as many characters that can disarm, plus you have you can click on areas from far away. It makes things more convenient, and there's actually a glitch that you can clear the walls of mist immediately. There's a lot of utility of this spell. Hands down makes it worth it to get Master Earth Magic just for this spell. It is an S tier spell. Up next we have Stun. It is AR spell with a spell point cost of 1, and it basically stuns a character. This isn't as useless as in 6, but it's damn near close. It's still an RP tier spell. Next we have Earth Resistance, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 3. And like all the other resistances, it gives resistance based on 1 to 4 per point of skill. Earth Magic, and you can learn this spell immediately if you have Earth skill, like with Stun. You're not going to be using Earth Resistance very much. There's like Earth Elementals, I think, which is in Watchtower 6. That's on Light Path, so you would probably have Day of Protection by then anyway. And there's probably some others, but the damage isn't going to be very much, so I'd put it at C tier. Plus there's an Earth Pedestal, I believe, in Bracata if you wanted it, so not very important spell, C tier. Up next we have Mass Distortion, which is an Earth spell with spell point cost of 30, and it's a single target spell which does 25, which is supposed to cause 25% damage, plus another 2 per point of skill in Earth Magic. You can only learn this spell with Grandmaster Earth. It's a little bit better than Incinerate in terms of, because you can cast it without having to hit a projectile, but it's also, I find that it misses a lot. It is going to do a shitload of damage if you have a good skill, but there are a lot better options, and it's not really worth getting Grandmaster Earth Magic for, so I put this at C tier. Up next we have Slow, which is an Earth spell point cost of 2, and it halves the walking speed, and it makes them hit half as fast. At Master, that's 1/4 speed. At Grandmaster, it's 1/8 speed. It lasts 1 minute per point of skill. At Normal, at Expert, it's 5 minutes. You can learn this spell immediately if you have the Earth skill. Slow has some uses. You can use this to slow high-level monsters, even like Robert the Wise, or Talberti. It takes some tries sometimes, so you want to cast this around a corner, but I would still, in most cases, take other spells over it, but it definitely can have some uses in slowing high-level enemies to kill them easier, so I put this at B tier. Finally, we have Stone Skin, which is an Earth spell with a spell point cost of 5. Increases your armor class by 5 plus 1 per point of skill in Earth Magic. Duration 5 plus 1 hour plus 5 per point of skill, then 15 at Master, and 1 hour at Grandmaster. You can only learn this spell with Expert Earth Magic. So this is going to give you a little bit of AC. It's not that important. It's at best you're going to be looking at 12 AC, so that's nice. It's not particularly great. Obviously on Dark Path it's going to be nice early on in Light Path. Later on you're not really going to notice, even on Dark Path, so I put this at B tier. Since you want Master Earth Magic anyway, it's good, decent spell just to help your armor class, but it's not, nothing to write home about, so it's okay. Whew, that is it for the sorcerer or elemental spells. Alright, time for the self spells. But on to spirit magic. Starting off, we have Heroism, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 10, and just like in 6, it gives plus 5 to damage, plus 1 per point of skill in spirit. At Master, Grandmaster, the duration lasts longer, and you can only learn this spell if you have Expert Spirit Magic. Like I said, in 6, this spell is surpassed by Hour of Power, but that is a light spell, which you can only get on Light Path. And it takes a little while to get, it takes longer to get light magic in this game. So you're still gonna be in a period where you're gonna have to fight a lot of things without light magic. So it's still a good spell to have. and use in light parties, although you shouldn't level up the spirit magic as much because you're eventually getting light magic. And on Dark Path, you don't really have any other options, since if you're playing any melee party, which I personally wouldn't recommend on Dark Path, but if you are, spirit magic is your best bet. Pump spirit magic as much as if it was light magic on one character who's the spirit caster, and you're going to have a very good damage output plus heroism. Plus arms master. You're going to be doing a shit ton of damage, so I put it at A tier on Dark Path. Again, inferior to Dark Magic, but it's still a good option. Up next we have Remove Curse. Remove Curse is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 5. And it removes Curse, obviously, if it's less than 1 hour per point of skill, or 1 day at Master, and then there's no time limit at Grandmaster. You can only learn this spell if you have Expert Spirit Magic. There aren't that many monsters that that cast Curse. I believe there's Specters and Harpies, which thankfully don't have Mass Curse. And there might be one other that I can't remember. I don't remember if the Necromancers do them or not, but you're gonna find that you're gonna need this spell a lot less. With that being said, obviously Curse is very annoying. You can't cast any or you can cast spells, but it's very unlikely. So it's definitely good to remove that. I don't think this is protected by protection from magic. So there's a case that you would keep this spell, so I would keep it at B tier. Next we have Shared Life. Shared Life is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 25, and like in 6, it basically takes the average of your party's health and distributes it evenly, plus 3 hit points per point of skill, and spirit magic plus 4 at Grandmaster. You can only learn this spell if you have Master Spirit Magic. I don't think this spell is as good. It's not worse, but it's simply that there are a lot of other healing spells that are better in 7. So, considering that it's inferior to Regeneration or Heal, I'd put, or even Power Cure, I'd put this at C tier. Next we have Spirit Lash, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 15, and basically you can only cast it when you're right up on a monster, and it deals 10 plus 2 to 8 points of damage per point of skill and spirit magic. And Grandmaster simply reduces the recovery rate. You cannot cast this spell if you do not have Master Spirit Magic. I don't think Spirit Lash is very good. You can only cast it in close range, and if you're gonna be in close range, then you're better off casting Sparks or Shrapmetal or any number of offensive spells, even Incinerate. I guess you can argue that a cleric's not going to have as much access to offensive spells, but it's still not very good. I put it at C tier. Up next we have Detect Life. It's a spirit spell with spell point cost of 1, and what it does is it shows you the health of a monster and increases duration up to master, and then at Grandmaster it shows the spells. This spell is completely worthless. You don't need to know the current hit points of a monster. You can just tell just by their health bar, and it's not like knowing the exact hit points is going to help because of the RNG involved in most damage. So completely useless spell, RP tier. Up next we have Resurrection. Resurrection is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 30, and it resurrects. Basically, it's the same as 6. It removes eradication. This spell is actually completely useless in 7 because, first of all, unless you do some stupid shit like mix potions to white and black potions together, the only way that you're gonna get eradicated or take genie lamps at the wrong time, the only way that you're gonna get eradicated is from Robert the Wise or Tolberti. Aside from that, you don't need this spell at all because protection from magic gives you protection against eradication, which you get at Grandmaster as well. So you can only learn this spell at Grandmaster, which means you have to get promoted to the 2nd promotion. But at that point you can get Grandmaster protection from magic, which makes this spell useless. So there's no point in which you need this spell over protection from magic because you don't have it if you're playing optimally. So this is an RP tier spell. Up next we have Turn Undead, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 4, and what it does is it basically makes undead run away for 3 minutes plus 1 to 5 per point of skill up to master, and then Grandmaster fast recovery. You can learn this spell simply with spirit skill. This spell still has some pretty good uses. If you're fighting specters or ghosts, they can one-shot your characters, so having that is nice. For that reason, I can't remember still if liches are affected by it, but early on it's definitely going to make things easier dealing with some mobs of undead because there are a lot in the barrows and in the barrow downs, so I'd still put it at B tier. Up next we have Preservation, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 8, and what it does is it makes it so that your party cannot be killed by physical damage. They can still be killed by death status effects, I believe, but If they take any hits or traps or any sort of damage that causes them to die, they will instead be unconscious. Keep in mind that if they are unconscious or while they are in the negative to the point where they would die, if the spell wears off, they actually do die. So keep that in mind when looking at how long this spell is on. It lasts an hour, plus 5 per point of skill, plus 15 at Grandmaster. At Master, it affects the entire party. Preservation is an S tier spell. Being able to basically avoid not dying is very important. In pretty much the entire game, you don't have to having to raise characters. Even with raised dead, that's slow and you lose your spell points. Having to go to a temple, etc. Being able to just heal your character without, if they would die, considering how powerful healing spells are, very, very nice to have. Would definitely recommend. Pretty much single-handed a reason why you should get Master Spirit, just to cast on the whole party. Although you could just get Expert, it would just be slower, but S tier spell, definitely get it. Up next we have Raise Dead, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 20, and it raises your dead character if they were dead less than a day per point of skill, unless at Grandmaster, which there's no time limit. You can only... Oh, by the way, you can only get Preservation if you have Expert Spirit. You can only get... Raise Dead if you have Master Spirit. Raise Dead is obviously surpassed by Preservation and Protection from Magic, although Protection from Magic only works for dead effect at Grandmaster, so if you're in that period where you are fighting, for example, Titans or Wyverns, this is a good spell to have if you don't have Grandmaster Protection from Magic. Otherwise, it's completely useless, so I'd put it at C tier. There's a very small window in the game where this is going to be necessary. Up next we have Bless, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 2, and it increases your hit chance plus 5 plus 1 per point of skill and spirit. It affects the entire party at Expert, and it's 1 hour plus 5 per point of skill, then 15 minutes, then 1 hour. Like with Heroism, it's nice to have on Light Path because you're going to not have light magic for a while, so it's good to have up until that point. On Dark Path, it's less it's a lot better because you will never get light magic. So if you're doing any melee, you want this spell, so you want to use this spell. So like with Heroism, B tier Light Path, A tier Dark Path. Finally, we have Fate, which is a spirit spell with a spell point cost of 3, and it gives you basically can cast it on a monster or yourself, and what it would do if you cast it on yourself, it gives a bonus to your hit chance by 20 plus 1 point of skill, and then If you cast it on a monster, it reduces their hit chance by the same amount. At expert, it's +2, and then +4, +6. But it only lasts 5 minutes. I don't really care for this spell. It's basically like you just want to cast it on some monster and like do a lot of damage at once. It only increases hit chance, so which isn't as important as just getting a lot of damage. You know, your hit chance would have to be really weak for this to be all that great. Plus, it's really short. I put it at C tier. It's not completely useless, but I don't like it. Up next, we have the Mind School. These spells, these selection are spells are like this is the worst magic school in the game. There's not a single B, A, or S tier spell in this category. So let's just go ahead and blaze through these. First we have Mass Fear, a mind spell with a spell point cost of 15. You can only learn this spell at Master Mind Magic, and it basically, like in 6, it makes all monsters that can be affected by it afraid for 3 minutes plus 5 per point of skill, or 5 minutes per point of skill. At Grandmaster. Like I said, well, this spell has a... You would have to get this spell to Master Mind first of all. And there aren't that many monsters that you can even cast this on by the time you get it. And it's not really all that good anyway, so it's a C tier spell. It's not completely useless, but it's pretty damn close. Next we have Psychic Shock, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 25. It deals 12 damage plus 1 to 12 point of skill. At Grandmaster, it reduces recovery rate. You can only learn this spell at Master's Mind. Having to put 7 points into Mind for this spell is completely a waste of skill points. The damage is not worth it. For one, Mind Magic isn't very good. Number 2, the damage isn't very good. Number 3, it does mind damage, and there are a lot of monsters that resist mind, like Undead. Behemoths also resist it. Eyes. I think Titans as well. So mind damage is probably one of the worst damage spells in the game. Still gonna put it at C tier. I can't really put it at RP tier because it does damage. So, you know, if you cast it on the right monster, it will, if you have a good enough light magic. But I would not recommend it for any playthrough. So, C tier spell. Although you can make a good case that a lot of these spells could be RP tier simply because they're mind spells, and there's nothing in mind magic that you can get alongside these spells to make them worth it. So next we have Telepathy. Telepathy is completely an RP tier spell, most useless spell in the game. Mind spell. Spell point cost of 4. At higher rankings, it can tell you it'll reduce recovery rate, and it basically tells you how many gold a monster has. Talk about completely worthless. If you want to, like, there's no reason that you would ever want to know how much gold a monster has. You should have a pretty good idea, and it doesn't help you in any way. Normally, if you want to find out how much gold they have, you can just kill them, and if you don't kill them, then knowing doesn't help you very much. So, RP tier spell. Next we have Berserk. It's a mind spell with a spell point cost of 10, and it makes a monster attack other hostile monsters for 5 minutes per point of skill. Then 10 at Master, Grandmaster 1 hour. You can only cast a spell at Expert Mind. Like other mind spells, a lot of monsters resist it. It's not particularly good since the monsters that you would want to cast it aren't affected by it. It can be useful on specific monsters, I guess. So it's a C tier spell. Next we have Remove Fear, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 1, and it removes the fear condition with time that you can use it. 3 minutes per point of skill, then 1 hour, then 1 day, and then it works infinitely. Like I said, in 6, fear is not a very important status effect. You can sleep it off, and the stat penalties aren't that big a deal. So you don't really have to worry about this status, and there aren't that many monsters that can even cast fear anyway, so it's not completely useless, but it's not very useful, so it's a C tier spell. Next we have Cure Paralysis, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 8. It cures paralysis, obviously. If it's 1 hour per point of skill, less than 1 hour, and then 1 day, and then no time limit, you can only cast a spell at Expert Mind. This spell is not very good because you can get protection from magic, which automatically protects against paralysis. And then they're really monsters that do paralyze. You don't want to really be fighting them at the time where you don't have protection from magic, so there's not really any reason to cast it if you do have protection from magic. Maybe if you're rushing for the golem's chest and you don't want to get a Windmaster, and you might get some gargoyles or something, or get hit. Still not very important. I put it at C tier. Up next we have Charm, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 5. It charms a monster, makes them not hostile. It lasts 5 minutes point of skill, then 10 minutes, and then Grandmaster, it lasts until the party leaves an area. Again, another crowd control spell potentially, but a lot of monsters resist mind spells, and it's not going to help you kill monsters, it's just going to make them immobilized. So it's a C tier spell. It's not completely useless, but it's not particularly great. Up next we have Mind Resistance, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 3, and it gives a resistance +1 per point of skill, and then up to Grandmaster with 4. Like some other resistances, it's very easy to get Mind Resistance pedestals. There's one outside of Stone City. There also aren't that many. I guess there are think gargoyles and medusas that give the paralyze effect. I think that's mine resistance. I'm not completely sure. I think it is. And maybe, you know, that that can be a nice thing to have to reduce the chance, but the problem is that you have to get the mind school and you have to put points into it, so there's really no reason to even get the mind school at all, simply for a little bit of extra resistance, especially when protection from magic is way better and will give you complete resistance to paralyze. So I would put this at C tier. Up next we have Mind Blast. It's a mind spell with a spell point cost of 2. It does 1 to 3 points of, or 3 points of damage plus 1 to 3 per point of skill. At higher levels, it reduces recovery. Like I said, mind damage is not very good. A lot of monsters resist it, and this spell's damage sucks. C tier spell. Only really good very early on. For maybe a cleric just to do some damage, but other than that, not very important. Up next we have Enslave, which is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 30. You can only cast a spell with Grandmaster Mind, and it makes a monster enslaved, basically. And basically it's like Berserk, except they will not attack the party. You have to put 10 points in Mind Magic to learn this spell, and all you get is Berserk with Berserk that doesn't target your party. Talk about a complete waste of skill points. RP tier spell. Do not get Grandmaster Mind Magic for this shit. And finally we have Cure Insanity. Cure Insanity is a mind spell with a spell point cost of 20, and it cures insanity, obviously. It works if your character's insane less than 1 day per point of skill. At Grandmaster, it's no time limit. Now, let me see. It doesn't... Protection from magic does not protect against insanity. So... there's obviously a case for getting the spell. If you want to rest, if you have spellcasters that are insane, they will lose their spell points, so definitely has a use there, but at the same time you can just go to a temple, so it's very easy to bypass, and there aren't that many monsters. Well, there are a few, I guess, but again, it's in areas by that point you can just portal out, so I put it at C tier. Talk about a garbage magic school right there. Alright, now we're on to a actually good, or have a school that has a decent set of spells. Up first we have Cure Weakness, which is a body spell with a spell point cost of 1. It cures weakness, obviously. Works if the party's weak less, or character's weak less than 3 minutes per point of skill, then 1 hour, then 1 day, and then works infinitely. Like I said, with in 6, curing weakness is very useful, especially if you use haste. It will weak the whole entire party, so being able to cast that is going to make your time a lot easier. So I'd still put this at A tier regardless of path. Then we have Power Cure, which is a my body spell with a cost of 30. It heals the party with damage 10 plus 5 point of skill. You can only learn this spell with Grandmaster Body. This spell is kind of made irrelevant to a degree by heal and regeneration, which are going to heal much greater. Well, heal isn't going to heal as much, but it's going to cost a lot less spell points. So, and plus, you know, you have regeneration, which also is going to heal your party pretty fast. It's not really that, again, like this spell's better than it is in 6. It's simply made irrelevant by the other healing spells. C tier spell. Next we have Harm, which is a body spell with a spell point cost of 4. It does 8 points of damage plus 1 to 2 per point of skill and body magic. At higher levels, it reduces recovery rate. Body damage spells run into the same problem as mind spells. A lot of monsters, including undead, resist it. And the damage for Harm isn't particularly good. I put it at C tier. Flying Fist. Body spell with a spell point cost of 25. It does 30 points of damage plus 1 to 5 per point of skill and body. At Grandmaster, it reduces recovery rate. You can only cast this spell if you have Master Body magic. Like I said, body damage is not great, and the damage isn't particularly good. Although it has a higher base, but it's not. Doesn't have much potential to get very much higher, and again it does body damage, so it's a C tier spell. Next we have Regeneration, body spell with a spell point cost of 5, and it basically heals your character over a period of time in hit points, which gets a higher amount per minute. I think it's minute, yeah. At least at Master or Grandmaster. And you can only learn this spell at Expert Body. This spell is completely OP. It is the best, one of the best healing spells. It's the best healing spell actually. You have Regeneration on at all times. You're not going to really have to worry about taking too much damage. At higher levels, it's crazy. You don't even have to heal at most cases, except occasionally. Very overpowered. If you have a character that's takes a lot of damage under preservation, you can wait a short period of time and they're already back up. Really great spell, S tier. Heal is a body spell with a spell cost 2, and it heals 5 hit points plus 2 per point of skill, which is up to 3, and then 4 and 5 at Grandmaster. This is a much better spell than Cure Wounds. It scales very well. You can heal a lot of hit points. It also very low spell point cost and low recovery. Very nice spell to have. It's going to be useful throughout the entire game. S tier spell. Up next we have Cure Disease, which is a body spell with a spell point cost of 15. It cures a diseased character if they were diseased less than 1 day per point of skill, and it has no time limit at Grandmaster. You can only learn this spell at Master Body. Cure Disease is completely useless. You know why? Because you can only learn this spell at Master Body, but another spell you get at Master Body is Protection from Magic, which actually protects against disease. So why cast the spell that cures disease when you already have the spell that protects against disease? Completely useless spell. No reason to buy this spell at all. It's an RP tier spell. Up next we have Cure Poison. It's a body spell with a spell point cost of 8. It cures poison, obviously. You can only learn this spell at Expert Body, and it heals poison. If they're poison less than 1 hour per point of skill, then 1 day, and then no time limit and Grandmaster. There are some monsters early on that can use poison, like poison ability, like troglodytes, for instance. So you can get some use out of this spell, but it's quickly made irrelevant by protection from magic. Plus you have potions of Cure Poison, which are easy to come by. So I would put this at C tier. Not particularly great. Plus, if you get poison, you can also heal it at a temple as well. Up next, we have Body Resistance, which is a body spell with a spell point cost of 3. And it heals... what am I talking about? It gives resistance to body for 1 up to 4 per point of skill. Get this spell with Day of Protection. But you're going to find this useful up before that in a lot of cases, because there are a lot of monsters that that you would want to protect against that give, like, I think the unconscious ability, that's one that, and then there's no protection that you can cast against that, so it can definitely have some uses there in making sure you don't die. Obviously, Telekinesis, but obviously you would have protection from magic, but we'll get to that later. It uses charges, I guess, so you can reduce the amount of charges that, or the amount of free hits that the protection from magic uses, so I think this spell's pretty useful. I'd put it at B tier on Light Path and A tier on Dark Path. Obviously, because you get from Day Protection on Light Path. Up next, we have Protection from Magic. This is a body spell with a spell point cost of 20. It gives a complete resistance to poison, disease, and stone at Master. At Grandmaster, it gives protection against... well, it's paralyzed as well. Yeah, poison, disease, stone, paralyze, and weak uh, at master. Keep in mind this does not protect against the weakness you get from haste, so you still want cure weakness for that. And basically anytime a character is hit by the effect, you have one free status infliction resisted for every point in body magic until it runs out, in which case the spell wears off and you have to recast it. At Grandmaster, it gives immunity to death. Eradication, you can only cast the spell at Master Body. This spell is so so good. It makes a lot of the curing stats effect spells completely irrelevant. Pop this on. You don't have to worry about getting paralyzed or stoned from deuces, poison, disease, and also later on you have Titans and Tolberti, obviously. These make, getting a death effect is so annoying, and being able to protect against that is going to make finding them a lot easier. Pretty much, there are a lot of monsters that will make that give just nasty stats effects that this spell just completely makes irrelevant. S tier spell all the way. And finally, for body and all of the self schools, we have Hammer Hands, which is a body spell with a spell point cost of 10. And it basically it's supposed to be a buff for unarmed attacks. It says that it inflicts body damage equal to the physical damage caused by the attack. That is a lie. It basically gives a small bonus to body damage for an unarmed character. And then at Expert Master, it reduces recovery. At Grandmaster, it affects the entire party. You can only cast this spell with Expert Body. Hammer Hands is a completely worthless spell. It gives the damage bonus you get from unarmed is almost completely irrelevant. I don't think it even stacks with staff. I'm not sure, but you can get a stat bonus simply from having fire aura on a staff or something. Like anything, like the damage is so minuscule, and I think it might even be bugged in that in some cases anyway. And you can only cast it if you have unarmed party anyway, so I think it's worthless. I put it at RP tier. Alright, that's the self schools. Alright, time for the light and dark spells. Starting off, we have Light Bolt, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 5, and it's a single target spell that does 1 to 4 points of damage per point of skill light magic. It does double damage versus undead, and the recovery rate is higher up to Grandmaster. There's not much to say about this spell. It's a single target spell. Just like Ice Bolt, Fire Bolt. It's also not going to be very relevant by the time you get it. It does double damage versus undead, but it also doesn't affect angels, and other like mages and stuff. So I'd still put it at C tier, just like the other bolt spells. Up next we have Divine Intervention, which is a light spell with spell point cost of 55. And you can, it's like in 6, except it's automatically 3 times per day. You can cast this spell. And I don't think, let me just...
We can't rest here.
Well, I can't check right now, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a... it doesn't matter what time of day it is to cast it, so that's nice, but, you know, it's the same effect. It ages characters 10 years when you cast it. You can only learn this spell at Grandmaster Light Magic, but honestly, that's not really relevant because at the time you get Light Magic, and you can by the time you can get Light Magic, you can pretty much get Grandmaster. Although in Light Path, you do have to do the Archmage promotion first, I think. Or I don't know. Regardless, it's an okay spell. It can heal your party instantly, but it's not really very necessary when you have like Regeneration. So, and plus protection from magic, preservation. So I would actually put it at C tier, because the healing in 7 is just so much better, so it's not really all that necessary. Up next we have Day of the Gods. Day of the Gods is a light spell with a cost of 30, and gives a boost to all your stats. I don't remember the exact calculation. I think it's like... Let's see, Expert 4 is 35 or something, or wait, I'm not really sure, but it's like something like times 10 per point of skill, and then 10 stats, and then at Master it's 4, and then Grandmaster 5. You can only learn this spell with Expert Light Magic. Obviously, having your boosted stats is going to be very nice. It's going to increase your hit chance, obviously, increase your damage. It's going to increase your luck, hit points, obviously. There are actually a lot of Day of the Gods pedestals in the game. But obviously, it's going to be a lot better with light skill and pumping light. It's going to lower your speed too, if you need that extra boost for recovery. Yeah, it's 10. Yeah, it's 10, and then plus a multiple of the caster's light magic skill. Yeah, it's a S tier spell. Actually, it's even better than in 6, because again, there's not any other spells that you can use to boost your stats other than the pedestals, so definitely going to be a good spell to have. S tier spell. Up next we have Summon Elemental. It's a light spell with a spell point cost of 25, and it summons a lesser light elemental that's friendly and will attack hostile enemies. You can only summon 1 at Expert, 3 at Master, and then 5 at Grandmaster. It's a greater elemental at Grandmaster and a normal elemental at Master. and I think it has a duration, but it's removed at Grandmaster. You can only learn this spell with Expert Light Magic. I don't really like the light elements too much. You can only cast a few of them at a time. It's very hard to control them. They just kind of do whatever the fuck they want. Really, the best way to use them is for them to just soak up a couple of hits. If you're fighting high level monsters, it's like they're not going to last very long. It's not very worth the effort. I put it at C tier. But I guess you could use it in some gimmicky ways. Next we have Day of Protection, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 40, and it basically casts all the resistances. Fire, air, water, earth, mind, body, plus Featherfall and Wizard Eye, and it's cast at 4 times. Your skill in Light Magic at Grandmaster, that's 5 times. You can only learn this spell with Master Light Magic. Obviously, having buffed out resistances is going to be very nice. You get this spell, get the Light Magic really high, you're going to have very good resistances. It's going to protect you against devils, against titans, death effect. Really nice spell. Obviously, just as broken as it is in 6. S tier spell all the way. Next we have Prismatic Light, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 35, and it's the same as Inferno. It's an indoor spell that inflicts damage to monsters in your field of vision. 25 points of damage plus 1 point of skill in Light Magic. And the recovery rate is faster at Grandmaster. You can only cast this spell with Master Light Magic. Like I said, in 6, the spell is kind of garbage. The damage isn't very good. I can't remember what type of damage it does off the top of my head. I don't think it's... light damage doesn't exist, I don't think. I think it's like body damage or something, I don't remember, but... I guess less monsters resist it than in this game, but it's also the damage isn't very great. It's a little bit better than Inferno, I guess, because it's actually from a good school. So I guess if you have a good light magic, it can be okay, but I'd say that there's probably better. So yeah, I'd put it at C tier. Next we have Hour of Power, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 45, and it casts Haste, Heroism, Shield, Stone Skin, and Bless at 4 times per skill. At Grandmaster it's 5 times. You can only learn this spell with Master Light Magic. Obviously, this spell is very powerful. You pump Light Magic really high, you're going to have boosted damage, boosted hit chance. Obviously the haste is nice, the AC is good. Really great spell, great way to increase the damage output of your melee characters even more. S tier spell. Next we have Sunray, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 50, and it is a single target spell that you can only cast outdoors during the day. So same restrictions as the last time. It does 20 damage plus 1 to 20 per point of skill in Light Magic. At Grandmaster, the recovery rate is reduced, and you can only cast this spell with Master Light Magic. Sunray is about as useless as it is in 6. If you want to cast if you want to hit monsters for high damage outdoors, it's better to use Starburst or Meteor Shower. You don't really want to bother with a spell like this. I'd put it at C tier. Not very good. Next we have Paralyze, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 20. And it paralyzes a character, so kind of like the Paladins. It lasts 3 minutes per point of skill line magic, and at Expert Master, etc., up to Grandmaster, it reduces recovery rate. You can learn this spell immediately if you get light magic. Paralyze is a little bit better in 7. It works on more monsters. However, there are a lot of monsters that resist it, like Behemoths, obviously undead. So it has very limited. It also takes a lot of attempts for it to hit anything, for it to paralyze anything. I'd say it's a pretty weak spell, but if you get lucky, then you can paralyze some monsters that are high level and be able to just knock them down like a paladin. So I guess I'd put it at C tier. Next we have Destroy Undead, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 10, and it's a single target spell that inflicts 16 points of damage, plus 1 to 16 per point of skill light magic to an undead creature. At Expert Master Grandmaster, the recovery rate is reduced. You can learn this spell immediately with light skill. I mean, it's just like in 6, it can do a lot of damage to an undead creature, but it's very limited, and it's only a single target. You're not going to be able to use it a lot. Maybe you can use it against liches, but that's about all you would want to use it for. There's still sparks, so it's a kind of garbage spell. I'll put it at C tier. Finally, for light magic, we have Dispel Magic, which is a light spell with a spell point cost of 15, and it dispels buffs that monsters cast, and at up to Grandmaster, it reduces recovery rate. You can learn this spell immediately if you have light skill. This spell isn't completely useless like it is in 6, because there are monsters that do buffs, like Paladins cast Heroism, Fire Elementals cast Haste, so it does actually have uses. I just don't think they're particularly good. Maybe you can reduce the amount of hits that a Fire Elemental does. But I guess it's technically maybe nice, so I'd put it at C tier. I don't think it's completely worthless, but I don't think there's really much point in using it. Okay, now we have the dark spells. Up first we have Shrinking Ray, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 25. And it shrinks a monster to 1/2, and then at Expert it's 1/3, Master 1/4, and Grandmaster it has an area of effect. The shrinking lasts 5 minutes per point of skill in dark magic, and when they're shrunken, I think they are easier to hit and they do less damage. The fact that Shrinking Ray is an AoE makes it pretty useful in some cases. Obviously, being able to hit monsters easier is better, but when you've got like Shrapmetal already, this isn't really all that relevant. I guess if you have less mages in your party, maybe you can find some uses for it. I'd put it at B tier. That might be a little bit high, but I think the benefit can still make it worth it in some cases, but obviously there are better options. Up next we have Control Undead, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 35. It basically makes undead under your control. That lasts 10 minutes per point of skill in mind magic. Mind magic. I'm hoping that's a typo. I think it is. Because that doesn't make any sense. It lasts 3 minutes per point of skill. At Master, 5 minutes. At Grandmaster, it lasts until the monster, until you leave the map. You can only learn it with Expert Dark Magic. It's basically like Charm. It's not very useful. You can maybe cast it on like a Lich or something, but you know, if you don't want to get hit with like Dragon's Breath or something, but it doesn't really help you all that much. I'd put it at C tier. Up next we have Toxic Cloud, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 15. It's a single target spell, which has 25 points of damage, plus 1 to 10 per point of skill in dark magic. Up to Grandmaster, the recovery is reduced, and you can learn this spell immediately with the dark skill. Same problems like in 6, although I'd say that the Cloud is a lot bigger, and therefore the projectile is much more likely to hit. So in that respect, it's a lot better. I don't think that the damage output is particularly as good, because Shrapmetal is a lot better. So it's still kind of mediocre in terms of damage. I put it at B tier still. Up next we have Souldrinker, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 60, and what this does is every monster in your field of vision takes damage, which is 25 plus 1/8 per point of skill in dark magic, and whatever damage you do, it's added to the party, distributed equally between the 4 members. So it's basically like a life drain spell. This is a really nice spell. If you're fighting a lot of monsters, getting a little low on health, you can just pop this spell and get some healing and do some damage. I do like it quite a bit. It's an A tier spell. You can actually do some healing with your sorcerers, technically, too, so that's kind of nice. Later on, so yeah, A tier. Next we have Shrapmetal, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 30. Before you have to be Grandmaster Dark Magic to learn this spell, but again, not very relevant since you can get it immediately. Next we have Shrapmetal, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 30, and it's a splash spell. It does 6 points of damage, plus 1 to 6 per point of skill in dark magic. It has 5 fragments. At Master, that's 7, and Grandmaster, it's 9. You can only cast this spell with Expert Dark Magic. Obviously, Shrapmetal, best damage spell in the game. It does a shit ton of damage. It's even better in 7. You have even more fragments, 9 this time. And it does dark damage, so monsters resistant to physical damage are hit by it, but it doesn't affect undead. That's the one downside to it. But still, for the most part, the best damage spell that you could possibly do. It's also lower spell points, so that's nice. Obviously, go-to spell for dark parties. S tier spell all the way. Up next we have Armageddon, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 55, and it's an outdoor spell which inflicts damage to all monsters, 50 damage plus 1 point skill in dark. You can cast it 3 times per day. At Grandmaster, you can cast it 4 times per day. You can only learn this spell with Master Dark Magic. This is obviously a great spell. Great way to kill a lot of monsters really fast, farm a lot of experience. You can even kill monsters in Land of the Giants. If you have 4 people, you can very easily just Armageddon spam and kill all the monsters, especially if you wait until dawn, waiting by 1 hour each, because if you wait till dawn they heal, but if you wait 1 hour it'll work. And then you can easily kill all the monsters in Land of the Giants without having to even see them. That's really nice. You can go to jail and do it again infinitely. Great way to farm experience and basically make any outdoors area a complete joke. Obviously, S tier spell. Up next we have Vampiric Weapon, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 20, and it gives the vampiric quality to an enchanted item. It lasts 1 hour point of skill. At Grandmaster, the effect is permanent. You can learn this spell immediately with learning the dark skill. This spell is pretty nice. Vampiric is a very nice ability, especially if you don't have a cleric for some reason. You can get that health back. Very nice for melee. Nice thing is that paladins or archers can learn it, so if you don't have a sorcerer or a cleric, you can still get benefit from this spell. And enchant all your items. Pretty nice. It sucks that it has to be unenchanted, but Vampiric is one of the better enchantments in the game anyway for weapons, so I'd say it's a pretty nice spell. I'd put it at A tier. Up next we have Dragon's Breath, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 50. It's an AoE spell that does 1 to 25 points of damage per point of skill in dark magic. You can only learn this spell with Master Dark Magic. I'd say this is improved from 6. It's half the spell points, which is kind of nice. You can obviously do a lot of damage to a lot of monsters. I'd still say Shrapmetal is better, but this is still a pretty good spell. I'd put it at A tier. Especially when, you know, you can get pretty decent meditation on top of that, so you can definitely pop this spell a fair more times than in 6, so I like it. I put it at A tier. Up next we have Reanimate, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 10, and you can take a monster that's dead and turn them into a zombie, which they get 20 hit points per point of skill up to the creature's maximum. At Experts 30, Master 40, Grandmaster 50. I don't think this spell's very good. Zombies are pretty weak. Plus, there's obviously better ways of dealing a lot of damage. They're just there for fodder. It's kind of like the light elemental. There's not really any real use for them, but I guess you could use them to like make a distraction or something. You can't really use them to farm experience because zombies are fucking weak. So you're gonna be there for a really long time. I put it at C tier. Next we have Pain Reflection. It's a dark spell with a spell point cost of 40. It basically, when monsters hit you, they take damage equal to what's inflicted. I'm not really sure exactly which monsters are affected by it. But it affects the entire party at master, and it lasts 1 hour plus 15 minutes per point of skill. At grandmaster, you can only learn this spell with expert dark. It can be nice in doing a little bit of extra damage, I guess. Obviously, there are a lot better ways of dealing damage, but it's a nice spell to have out. But there's obviously better ways of dealing a lot of damage. You should probably not rely on this to kill monsters. So I'd put it at B tier. And finally, we have Sacrifice, which is a dark spell with a spell point cost of 45, and you can only learn this spell with Master Dark Magic. What you do is you take a follower that you have right here, and you kill them, and then it heals your entire party like Divine Intervention. This spell is completely worthless. You don't want to be wasting followers just to heal your party. You can just go to a temple for that. It's not really much of a benefit to just hire random people because you're just gonna go back to town. You have to do that in town anyway, so not much point in using this spell. There are better uses that you can get out of followers. They can boost your experience, boost your damage. Why would you want to kill them? Doesn't make any sense. Completely RP tier spell. Don't use this spell other than for RP reasons. So that's going to do it for spell guide for MM7. Next we have the spell guide for MM8. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to cover all the spells because that's redundant and this was quite exhausting. I'll probably just stick to spells that have differences. Anyway, I will see all of you guys later.